Am I invited to take the podium? Well, that's a good sign. I agree with it.
And Senator Sanders is my lead source tonight here on Capitol Hill. And thank you, Senator, for being here. I'm assuming that was not planned.
It was not planned. I came to hear what Senator Schumer was going to say. He was late. I was invited to get up front, and I did my thing.
And you basically delivered what your message is in terms of what your takeaways were from last night, what it means for Democrats
Right.
that you caucus with.
What it means is I think Trump said it right. The Republicans lost badly last night. And the reason that they lost badly is that people are really quite disgruntled and disgusted with Trumpism in a general sense. And in terms of health care, what people are saying is we cannot afford a doubling in our health care premiums. In Vermont, we are seeing people being asked to pay a tripling or a quadrupling. Who can afford that? And people are saying it is insane to throw 15 million Americans, low income and working class people, off the health care that they have, resulting in some 50,000 unnecessary deaths each year. All to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. Elon Musk, in the view, my view, and in the view of most Americans, really does not need a tax break so that we can throw people off of healthcare. There is a revolt against Trumpism. I think Democrats have the momentum. And now what has got to happen is Trump has got to come to the table and say, okay, let's make sure that premiums do not go up. Let's make sure that we do not throw millions of people off healthcare. He does that, we can end the shutdown tomorrow.
So that wasn't the message, though, that he delivered today. Basically, instead of talking about working with Democrats, he was saying eliminate the filibuster today. I mean, he was making that message pretty clear to those Republicans in the room this morning.
But he's not going to, apparently, from what I understand, that's not going to be the case. The Republicans understand that the filibuster is an important part of what the Senate is, that it's not going to happen. And, look, I happen to think that Trump is a little bit crazy, and I think he lies all of the time. But he's not stupid, and he's a good politician. And I think he is catching on that he is playing a losing hand. People cannot, he talks about affordability, really. Well, when you double people's health care premiums, you're not bringing affordability. You're making it impossible for people to survive. I think he understands that. I think he is going to come to the table.
Do you think he gets the frustration on affordability, or do you think he just gets the messaging of it?
I think he is distressed that people are catching on to what he is doing. Look, you do a poll, CNN do a poll. You ask people whether we should give the 1% $1 trillion in tax breaks and double premiums for ordinary Americans. I will say that 90% of the people think that's a crazy idea. That's what they're trying to push. The American people are catching on and saying no.
The president said today something that, I mean, it was really remarkable for him to come in the room today and say Republicans are bearing the blame of this shutdown more so than Democrats, which he lamented. He called Democrats kamikazes when it came to keeping the government closed, saying that they don't care about reopening it. But he said that he thinks last night's election makes Democrats less willing to reopen the government. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I think what the message of last night, and it really was a sweeping victory, not only in New York and in Virginia and New Jersey, but in small towns in Connecticut, in California. I mean, it really was an overwhelming wave, which has a lot to do with people saying, you know what, you guys got to stand up to this Donald Trump, not only his authoritarianism, but his war against the working class of this country and his horrible positions on healthcare. That was the message that I took. Stand up, be firm, and Trump, who is nobody's fool, will in fact come to the table.
That's the message you took. Do you think Democratic leadership took away that same message as you?
And you got to ask Democratic leadership.
I mean, that's what you said today when reporters were asking you questions.
I don't want to speak for Mr. Schumer. He's quite capable of speaking for himself.
But were you satisfied with his response today, his reaction to last night's wins?
I think you got to go beyond just saying, I want to meet. Sure, they should be meeting. Sure, the president should be inviting Jeffries and Schumer into the White House to discuss it. But I think we've got to lay out what we want. And what we want is what the American people want. And what the American people want is not a doubling in the health care premium. So we got to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. We got to make sure that 15 million people are not thrown off the health care they have.
And that has been something, I mean, you've talked about health care obviously for decades and how it needs to be fixed in this country. One thing, though, in terms of what this looks like, is how it's being used in this shutdown. You've acknowledged that it's a point of leverage for Democrats in the government shutdown as you're fighting to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Republicans have used that language from Democrats and saying that your leverage is hardworking Americans.
No,
What would you say to that?
What I say is that throughout the modern history of this country, when a majority party does not have 60 votes in the Senate to keep the government open, to pass a government budget, you need 60 votes, correct? That's what you need. Senate rules. When Democrats had 52 votes, they have to negotiate with Republicans. Republicans have that, they have to negotiate with Democrats. This is the first time, I don't know that people understand that, first time in modern history where Republicans are not sitting down and negotiating with the Democrats to get the 60 votes. That's what the 60 votes is supposed to do. They're not doing it. That's the reason for the shutdown.
And you think they won't get rid of the filibuster? Something you've advocated for at times.
Well, I think right now we should maintain the filibuster, and I think that's Thune's position and the position of a number of Republicans.
And you don't think Senate Republicans will give the president what he wants on the filibuster?
I don't want to speculate, but we can end this shutdown. This shutdown is painful. It's painful for the police officers right here on Capitol Hill, for federal workers all over this country. We're worried about what's happening with the airline issue and cutting back on plane flights. Trump can end this shutdown tomorrow. Let's sit down. Let's talk about extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And by the way, let me also say this. I am not a great fan of Obamacare.
Yeah.
I believe that our current healthcare system before Trump is broken, wildly expensive. We should do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee healthcare to all people as a human right through Medicare for all.
One of the big winners last night was Zohran Mamdani, someone that you had endorsed and appeared on the campaign trail. He spoke directly to President Trump in his victory speech last night. I want everyone who missed it to hear that moment.
If anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
After seeing the results of last night's election, you have said that this is not just a New York City thing, which some people have dismissed his win as. Do you think Zohran Mamdani is a leader in the Democratic Party now?
Well, of course he is. He's going to be the mayor of the city of New York. But what's important about last night is not only that he ran a brilliant campaign, he had 90,000 volunteers, he's incredibly articulate. It's what he talked about during the campaign. And he made it clear what is true in every state in this country is that the richest people in America are becoming phenomenally richer. Billionaires are exploding in terms of wealth. While ordinary people, 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck, ordinary people can't afford health care. They can't afford childcare. They can't afford the food in the grocery store. They can't afford to retire with dignity. That's what Zohran campaigned on. It resonated with people. It will resonate with people in every state in this country.
Is that something that Democrats, you believe, should run on?
Absolutely.
In the next year?
Look, people understand it. Democrats have got to have the courage to acknowledge reality. You got one person. You tell me if this makes any sense. One person, Mr. Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. In the richest country on earth, we got 800,000 people sleeping out on the street. Millions can't afford health care. It is not a radical idea to say, and that's what Mamdani is talking about. We need an economy that works for everybody, not just for the billionaires.
Do you think that's something that's resonating with the Democrats you caucus with up here on Capitol Hill?
To some degree it is, but more importantly, it is resonating with ordinary Americans all across this country.
Should it say anything that Senator Schumer never endorsed Zohran Mamdani and yet he still had such a big victory last night?
Why is that a contradiction? What do you think?
Well, I'm just saying, does it say anything about how voters, if they don't care about the endorsement or not?
Yeah, precisely. That's exactly what it says. Look, what Mamdani talked to was not the political establishment, not the oligarchs. Those are not the people he went to for support. He went to working class people. He went to young people. My understanding is he won something like 75% of the voters of people under 30 years of age. That's extraordinary. So if I'm a Democrat in any place in this country and say, we got to get young people involved in the political process, they are the future of America, study what Mamdani did in New York.
President Trump said today that, well, one, he didn't mention Zohran Mamdani's name this morning during that breakfast, which I thought was notable in front of the cameras. He's talked about him a lot, obviously. Later in Miami, he did reference him, and he said he believes this sets up a choice for Americans between common sense and communism. What do you say to that?
Well, look, Trump lies all the time. So he calls anybody who disagrees, I guess he calls me a communist. Zohran Mamdani is not a communist. Maybe Trump might want to read a book or two.
He did quote Eugene Debs in the beginning of his speech last night.
Who was, as I hope you know,
A socialist.
one of the great socialist leaders in our country, one of the great unsung heroes of American history, man who spent his life fighting for working people and opposing unjust wars. He was not a communist. He was a democratic socialist. So maybe Mr. Trump might want to study up, read a book or two, I don't know if he reads books, and learn a little bit about what democratic socialism is about.
Senator Bernie Sanders, as always, thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us here on Capitol Hill.
Thank you.